When the Invincible series first debuted and became a phenomenon within popular culture, one question really began to arise. If the series was this good and had this much potential for popularity, why wasn't there an attempt to make an adaptation much earlier? Well, dear viewer, there were many attempts to make an adaptation, but they either never got past the early development stages or were discontinued due to a lack of interest. Let's first go to 2005. Paramount bought the film rights to Robert Kirkman's Invincible in this year. It felt like a big swing at turning an indie comic into a potential franchise. Kirkman himself was tapped to write the screenplay, which would have been his first feature film script ever. But then, nothing happened. Development dragged on with basically zero public movement. After a couple of years of radio silence, the project stalled and the rights eventually expired and quickly reverted back to Kirkman and Image Comics. There's not much I can really say about this 2005 film. It was being developed during a time where the popularity of superhero films were really starting to take off. But Invincible was not exactly a mainstream hero, so I'm not entirely sure how a movie like this would have turned out financially. The next adaptation would be made by MTV in 2008. However, instead of a TV show or a movie, MTV decided to try something a bit more experimental and low budget. Invincible the series was a motion comic produced by Gain Enterprises using their Bomb X process. This sounds really scientific and complicated, but this is just a more exaggerated way of saying they made the panels move. It was cheap, fast, and designed for the download-to-own era in the late 2000s, perfect for iTunes, Xbox Live, and MTV's own platforms. MTV released this motion comic in 2008 and went all in on the marketing. Their official promo site hyped it up as a full 36-part series and pushed the launch of episode 1 to 12 on July 22nd. In reality, only these first 12 episodes ever came out. They were packaged and released as 6 main volumes, with every 2 episodes making up 1 volume. Every volume was a one-to-one faithful adaptation of the comic book, detailing everything up until the fight between Invincible and Omni-Man. The voice cast was pretty solid. Patrick Cavanaugh voiced Mark Grayson, Pete Sepnook brought the intensity as Omni-Man, Victoria Kelleher played Debbie Grayson, and Wendy Allen handled Adam Eve. After those first 6 volumes dropped, the entire series basically vanished from being able to purchase. This would turn Invincible the series into this obscure lost media curiosity that a lot of fans didn't even believe existed until recent years. There is some misconceptions that the Invincible motion comic is available to view on YouTube, but these are actually fan-made motion comics by the channel Prodigy. It's not at all the same as the MTV series. Thankfully, we know a lot of info about this MTV series thanks to users on the r/Lost Media subreddit and pockets of various posts you can find on the internet. These individuals have helped track down and preserve various material from this version of the series, and user Fat Mammoth has uploaded the first 4 volumes on the Internet Archive, which I'll link below. Some episodes can still be found on Amazon, though they are region locked and unavailable to view, at least from my side. The motion comic is more faithful to the exact events of the original comic compared to the show, which does change around the order of scenes, likely for the purpose of pacing. The voice acting for the most part is very good. You know, it's very surreal watching an Invincible adaptation where the characters have different voices to the ones I'm used to.
I wouldn't try that. I'm invincible.
However, I do believe that the voice actors did a brilliant job capturing these characters.
No kidding! There seems to be an endless stream of them coming out of that portal!
The motion comic has a very unique way of presenting the story. There's a very unique use of music and sound effects. The character dialogue is synced with the beat and flow of the music, enhanced by the use of sound effects that come in at the perfect moment. This can lead to some very interesting and actually pretty cool sound design.
No! 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 No!
However, there are points where you do wonder what exactly they were trying to accomplish, and certain uses of sound are just, very odd.
I guess that you should get paid!
The comic uses this interactive style of animating the panels. The panels themselves dart around the scenery in a unique way, usually directly following the movements of the characters. Nolan darts into a room while that is emphasized through the panel itself viscerally darting into frame. Mark learns to fly for the first time while that is shown through the panel itself falling off the screen and then darting upwards. Characters are in a shootout while that is shown through the panels themselves getting shot with bullets. This dynamic use of moving panels is helped by not only the visual effects, but also the backgrounds, which are never static, white or black. Instead, they match with the scenery of whatever is happening in the panel, which does help the moment feel more immersive. This is shown very well in this sequence, where the panel darts around as if moving in 3D space. The music, sound design, visual effects, and the panel animations work very well together to make this Invincible motion comic very engaging. Despite not having any kind of adaptation, I do feel that this comic did just enough to elevate the source material, and I do believe you should watch it for yourself to get a different kind of experience from the show. The final Invincible adaptation attempt was the most recent one back in April 2017. Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg would be brought on to write, direct, and produce a new Invincible movie. The plan was to make a faithful live-action adaptation of the comic. Kirkman was openly excited, saying fans had been asking for years and that Rogen and Goldberg were the perfect team for this movie. Then Amazon greenlit the animated series. Suddenly, Kirkman had 2 Invincible projects running at once. He promised they'd be noticeably different and could coexist, but live action turned out to be far tougher than anyone expected, considering that by 2026, there's still no real movement on the project. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe or I will do to you what Nolan did to Mark.